to tell the story. Can I suggest you?
Definitely. Yeah.
I thought you'd be great.
That would be amazing.
So,
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Suggest it. I'll just, however it works out.
Okay.
Cool.
I really wanted to do that.
I'm so excited.
Okay.
I'm so excited for you.
Okay.
It is so much more important, and it really is. I'm so excited.
So next year,
And the fact that we can
when
do
I
this,
go to Miami to festival, you'll come.
Perfect.
Like,
or I'll get a play because that's the
oh,
main
okay.
thing.
Because next
Yeah, definitely.
year there's a next year for the festival.
Of course.
But the play and
I'm so excited.
Thank
I'm so
you.
excited.
Thank you. You know, I really thought about it. You know, like what's my heart's desire?
To answer that call is a miracle.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of
Yeah.
this book. To answer that call is it's such an important message.
Yes. And that is a message that I'm trying to live right now.
Exactly.
I have to.
And we should talk about that
So I
too.
think we're gonna start our intro and then just get going.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. I had to, you know, it always takes some sacrifice. Like Patrice.
How are you?
Hello.
Good to see you.
Mwah. Michael Moon.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Let me move that.
Do we pass these out?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This is a gag. This is about Kleenex boxes. In case anyone needs it, it's got my logo on it. It's hilarious.
Whoops. I'm straddling this chair in an unattractive way.
Maybe put some in case somebody needs it. And then
That was
do you want me to move my
not
team?
graceful. It's like, how did I do that?
It's a tall chair. Wow.
Hello.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, everybody. We're so far away. Coming closer.
Welcome to Zibby's Bookshop. This is a conversation between Frank Zappa and Annabelle Gurwitch. And I'm just going to give a quick intro and then I'll pass it along to them. We're going to do about 30 minutes of conversation, 15 minutes Q&A, and then 15 minutes of signing at the end. So Frank Zappa was born in 1967 to legendary musician Frank Zappa and his second wife Gail. At the age of 14, Moon appeared in Frank Zappa's career-defining song Valley Girl, which later helped jumpstart her own career. Since then, Moon has firmly established herself as a writer, actress, comedian, artist, podcaster, and teen merchant. You can also learn more at moonunit.com. Annabelle Gurwitch is an actress, activist, and author of 5 books, including the New York Times bestseller, I See You Made an Effort, You Say Tomato, I Say Shut Up, and Fired, which is also a Showtime comedy special. Her essays and satire regularly appear in the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Los Angeles Magazine, The New Yorker, and Odessa.
Because my mother made me. So proud.
Her latest book, You're Leaving When, was a Thurber Prize finalist and New York Times favorite book for healthy living. She's currently writing a Hallmark movie for Andy McDowell, and her next book will come out next year with Zibby's Books.
Hello, peoples that I feel like I'm not quite getting to see over there. Hi. Hello, all you people. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm so happy to be here because I love Moon, and I love the book. I might love you more than I might love the book. No, I love you both. It's so exciting to get to share this book with you. I thought we'd start, Moon. I thought maybe you would read the first line in the book.
Okay.
Because I think it really sets a tone.
Thank you. No, I love you so much. So it's so fun to be here with you. Okay. I'll read this other thing too. Since my house burned down, I have a better view of the moon. Mizuta Masahide. I hope I'm saying it right. Hello and welcome to my book. Growing up, I was just like you. I had a rock star for a dad, was told to call my parents by their first names, had 2 invisible camels for playmates, and daydreamed about my future following in Frank's footsteps by helping people and making them laugh. Only I'd be dressed like a nun.
So what I love about that first sentence is it's both true and completely not true at the same time, because the book that you've written is so specifically about this incredible life that you had that is completely singular kind of existence. But what I think is really the gift of this book is that the book has a universality that when I read the book, I said, yes, I had a childhood exactly like you, only my dad wasn't a genius. So now what? And from there, the book that you write has so much humility, compassion, understanding of what it is to be human and to be you, and to be a girl growing up writing in her diaries in the days before we could share our intimate feelings and what we ate on our Instagrams. And that's a very particular time that you capture. And the whole journey of this book in writing about your life, first question I wanted to ask you was, how did you know, when did you know that you felt you were ready to write this book? Because you could write you could have written a book about your life 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or in 10 years from now, and it might be completely different. So what was it about this moment that you felt was an entry point for you to share this book?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love your how you talk about when we would write in our journals, it was the equivalent of Instagram and Facebook, except you were writing it to yourself. Yeah. And in some ways that's what I'm still doing, because I had journals since I was very small, and I had to write this for me, because when I was growing up, I always, well, first of all, my friend calls it Pharaoh syndrome, where all the arrows point to the top of the pyramid, my father. And I took my name quite literally, that I had no light of my own, that it was just the light of my father that I was supposed to be reflecting. And my middle name was given to me because I was the firstborn and we became a family unit. So I was doomed from the start to just be like, whatever you need.
You say in the book at one point you were so much raised in a childhood, you were raised to be a great personal assistant.
Yes, definitely. Lady Butler,
which I'm looking for someone. No. It's a great skill in Hollywood.
And the other thing that it does is it conditions you to be susceptible to a spiritual riffraff. So I in the book, I talk a lot about asking all
Another great thing you can't find in Los Angeles, though, anywhere. So hard for you.
So yeah, I spent a lot of time asking all the right questions of all the wrong people.
Yes.
And I hope I share that in the book as a cautionary tale. Do not follow me, run, find your own path, turn back now. But when Gail died, she left a document behind her will, and essentially the way I interpreted it, because it was also stated, was I wish these two children well, and these two not so much. And Gail left all the intellectual property and to my two younger siblings to be in charge of, essentially saying, you don't get Frank in your life and you don't get him in death. And I couldn't. It was unimaginable to me that a mother would do this. That you could have instructions after you leave here, because you get one chance to have a final word, and it just shocked me. And so I had to, even now I'm just like I'd rather be dancing about this than talking about it. Yeah. But so I just felt like I had to write this story and just say, okay, this is what happened, and I worked it like a cold case. That's what I did. I worked it like a cold case.
So you started, because the book is a product of journals. There's so much details there. I was going to say it's a forensic undertaking and reconstructing how you get to the place of your mother's death, and then how you recover from that. I mean, there's a bunch of different journeys that you're taking. So, like a cold case, did you? I just am terrified about the idea that you looked through all the journals.
I did. Yeah.
Isn't that a terrifying idea?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
how many of us kept journals, and how many of us still have those journals? I am like, when I read your book, I was like, be sure to burn those before you die, and your kid looks at.
I think we should have pop-up burns and just get them gone. Just get them gone.
Think
Yeah.
we should be like a book journal, like journaling? There'd be like an age.
Forget the book burning, journal burning.
Journal
you want
burning.
To burn something? I have a
Yeah.
pile of stuff
Yeah.
to get rid of.
But I mean, that must have been, I feel like, what did you just say? Okay, I'm going to take these 5 years and just weep. I don't know. How did you do that?
Yeah, that's hence the Kleenex boxes. I should do some kind of a arrangement with Puff or Kleenex, but this is a branded version. This is my logo on the.
Oh my God.
My friend Molly wrapped everything for you. If you start.
Do they come with the book?
Is
there a different price with tissue and without tissue?
I love you working an angle. Thank you.
Working for you.
Thank
Merch.
you. Thank you.
Merch.
Yeah, I mean, wait, what was the question?
So you went through all the journals.
The journals.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So the journals. What happened was as I was researching and looking at my father's tour dates and realizing, oh my God, he was actually gone a lot. It's 7 months at a time, sometimes in a touring cycle, 9 months at a time. And then I was like, that explains Gail's rage outs. That makes sense. I had another.
So you're reconstructing partially. You've got these journals that have your emotions, but then that is where your life differs from many of us. The tour dates of your dad.
Exactly. So I had two timelines going like
Right.
this, and so I was mapping on my timeline events where I was one way before, then the event occurred, and then I was different after that event, and so I was going through my journals, and it was extremely nauseating because I think the most lost I was probably when I moved out between like 17 into my mid 20s. It's just when I look at those journals, I literally am like, I need like a Karen Silkwood shower about it. I'm just like, how do you get it off? It's so nightmarish, and so I have so much empathy for the girl that I was, and so the process of writing it was kind of like identifying all these places in myself where I was stunted and trying to bring them forward into present time.
And you started the book after Gail's death.
Yeah.
Was that when you? So that's a process of how many years?
Yeah, since 2015. So I've been thinking about it and trying to make sense of it, and it's. I recommend it, or get into a 12-step program and just work a fourth step.
Or both.
Yeah.
Why stop at just doing one thing? Just go. Now, so I want to ask you about this, though, because that's a long time to be understanding. I mean, we all are, and I think there's a lot of writers in the room. So to talk about that process, how much change did you feel about in the book that you thought you were writing versus the book that you're actually published?
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked my entire life, what was it like growing up with Frank Zappa for a father?
Yes.
And if I'd written it before Gail had died, it would have just been probably like 20 fun chapters, 20 little
20 things you want to know about growing up with Frank Zappa.
Exactly. Zappa family values. Anyway, and after Gail, I did allow myself to write the F you forever for all time and time is infinite version.
Yes.
And that was an incredibly healing process. But as we know, anger is a complex emotion. And within that is the hurt. And then underneath that is the love. And so I just kept digging because I knew that I wanted to not carry those patterns forward. I wanted to say, this kind of behavior ends with me. And I want to be somebody I could be proud of and to be somebody I could I want to be my own hero.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that brings me to another subject I wanted to talk about. So, thinking about the way that everyone in your family, like all families, has a different story that is true for them. And your book is written with I feel like there's a certain very mature detachment to it that allows for there to be other stories of your siblings.
Mhm.
I wonder how much you were thinking about that and wrestled with that.
Yeah, I mean, when I started the book, I did not have that feeling. But as I was
Uh-huh.
writing the book, and it really is true. The only way out is through. And at a certain point, it's like you can't see land anymore, and you're just like, why did I start this thing? But through that process, because I was just like, I refuse to do this. I'll give the money back. But my fingers kept going. And what I realized is that as the oldest, I saw my siblings as shoulder to shoulder with me. And they didn't. They saw me as another thing standing over them. And that became clear in the writing. And as I tried to put myself in their shoes, I realized that they had literally different parents. We had some shared gallows humor and some shared, we were in the same location at the same time, but we were all having a different experience. And I just wanted to be I wanted us to always be talking about it. I was really big on words like closure and whatever the things that were going around.
Well, that's really interesting. So first of all, you know what, when you say that, I love that you talk about that you thought you were in one kind of, in some sense, also power dynamic, but then by writing, you could see them differently, and through that process, you understand them differently. And I think in your book, you leave room for their interpretation. And I'm always telling people whenever I teach writing that, writing is an act of cultivating empathy. And I really think that that's a great example of that. But by writing about the experience, you could really see how they had different experiences. That changes. And then it takes away some of that, like, I hate you revenge memoir.
Right, exactly.
Writing
I decided to just watch Last Kingdom. I'm Uhtred, son of Uhtred. I was like, I'll work it out here. I'll watch The Revenant 100 times. And I was doing the vindictive stuff over here, jumping on the trampoline over here, whatever. It was a very physical process. But because we both came from the acting world too, I sometimes had to treat it like I was writing like a character and the dialogue they would say. And I was like, okay, what does the villain say now? But when you if you play the villain, you're stoked to be the villain. You're like, this is fun.
We both had a writing teacher who used to say, if you're stuck and you're writing memoir, replace I with she. And that's just a nice little trick to get detachment when you're really stuck in the emotions.
Yeah. And if you want even more detachment, go to you. And I did. I jumped into you and I jumped into he and she. It is weird how some stuff was so painful. There was no other way to access it except to kind of, tap into the old fun coping mechanism of dissociation. I was like, come on back here. Let's try to get this thing done.
Well, on that same subject, though, so there's the family of origin that you're writing to that also, I mean, you have a certain responsibility to, because you want to be a person you're the older sister, and you've taken the sibling role very to heart. And that's really clear in the book. When I read it, I was thinking, the book is also about the collateral damage of being the daughter of a genius, right? So I don't think that's the main topic of the book. That's the context. But I think in this time, we're all doing a lot of rethinking. I think over the last years, there's been a lot of rethinking of how we look at figures that we know more about now. And where do you land on that? Collateral damage of genius, is it is it worth it, genius? Or do you just feel like that's just an unanswerable question? This is just the context. I don't know how you.
Yeah,
how you wrestle with
I
that
tried
one.
to just going back to Claudette, this amazing teacher that we had in common. She one of the tricks was to just write everything like a police report. She called it a memoir, and you would just have instead of saying I was really scared when I was at my friend's house, you would say I was at my friend's house. We heard a noise downstairs. We heard footsteps on the stairs. We saw a light come on in the hallway. You put in all the details that evoke the senses. And I smelled cologne. It was no one I knew. Whatever. So you put in, it would be a weird
right, but
story.
you're really staying out of the judgment. Yeah, this story is not going well. I don't know where it's going, but let's take a U-turn. No, but just I call that just the facts, ma'am.
You're right.
When I'm writing,
Right.
just the facts, ma'am, and I'll let you think. And I think that you do a very deft job of, and I wanted to talk about this, of both honoring your father with his dignity of his experience, and also giving us the just the facts, ma'am. And that seems like a very deliberate act on your part.
Definitely. I mean, whenever I hear people saying genius in the world, I, of course, am thinking, who are they stepping on? Who's doing all the behind the scenes work? And it also makes me think about, well, in my case, I had to grieve not having my needs met in a few different ways. One was if these people did these things on purpose, then they're selfish and they have no sense of the impact they're having on another person, then that's one path to grieve. And I traveled down that road. And another path is, what if they didn't know what they were doing? What if it was unconscious? What if they were just built that way? Because I certainly, I didn't choose to be somebody who cannot stop crying. This is the goodie bag I got. You cry, you care about everybody. Like this, I feel like I'm just in this weird, I'm on the moon ride. And so, and I never understood why weren't just like tripping balls on that. Like, who needs drugs? I was like, how's it going? How's the rowing going in your weird self, your weird sack of skin, do you know? Yeah. And so, but yeah, we all as a family sacrificed so much for his dreams to come true. I mean, down to he didn't drive. He got his driver's license, and once it expired, he was like, I'm not going to the DMV. ... So I guess we're driving you then. Do you know what I mean? So
Right. And that's really the least of it, because there's the emotional driving. I mean,
I'm also going to move a groupie into the basement.
Yeah. That naturally follows when you decide not to drive, because you can't drive to see your groupie girlfriend. You've got to put her in the basement.
Yeah, she comes to you.
Absolutely. Whew, that's big. But I think that you leave room for that. And so I guess that's an unanswered question, because that's not really the topic of your book. And I think though I'm sure that you have gotten some sense of the place that your book falls with many of us. This was the question. I'll get there. Sorry. The question is, so for those of us who write memoirs, or even if you've written barely disguised fiction that's memoir, we feel answerable to our families. Have you felt answerable to the family of the world that thinks your father was just the greatest thing ever? Did you feel like, oh my God, they're going to take a fatwa out on me?
That's hilarious. I was thinking, wow, this might make somebody have to rethink an idol or kill a dream a bit.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Why
exactly.
do we place people in these superhuman?
Exactly.
pedestals?
Yeah. So I think another thing to look at is this idea of projection. I don't think people understand how projection works, and I feel like that's going to be the next trending wave. Is people really seeing how that works. My ride's here. Gotta run.
That's the bus load of Frank fanatics who have come to picket and just bring them in. We listen to all voices, like the DNC convention.
No, but the thing is, I really did have to think about. So here's this guy who he's getting his dopamine hit from playing his instrument, getting blowjobs, having applause. It's not so much fun doing the laundry and doing the dishes. That has to go to somebody else. And so, and I was fine with it until, thank you, until I wasn't. Then I was like, beep, that has to stop because I didn't have a chance to do my dreams. And so, especially as a daughter, seeing that was really challenging because the message I got when I was doing kid math was, if my father's with people that don't matter to him and he's still coming home to Gail, and they have some arrangement that they publicly say is consent and she's Zen in public and then privately raging, I got the message that I was worth less than the thing that didn't matter because they at least got his time. Do you know what I mean? So so for so long, I was just thinking there was something wrong with me. And that was reinforced by Gail saying, there's something wrong with you. So that ought to do it.
Yeah.
That ought to do it.
Yeah, that's pretty clear. Okay, so I did want to talk about the writing you did with your mom, and then I thought we'd open it up for questions because that's always my favorite part as an author, to take the questions. The writing you do about your mother, I think this is, the compelling reason to buy 5 copies of this book, send it to every person you know who's had a mother. So maybe buy more copies because it's really instructive it just cracked my heart open, the amount of compassion and that you muster for her. And I was going to ask you to read it, but I really think you should. I think you should read it privately so you can sob in the privacy of in your own home.
It will sound like science fiction. Just stay with it. Stay with it.
The way you cared for her near the end of her life, and then were able to write about that gesture of kindness in the face of what happens later that you couldn't have known was going to happen, the betrayal later. Just that section of the book, was that the hardest thing? I mean, I just don't know how you really quite did that. What did that take? I'm just wondering, like, was that 5 of the 15 years, or no? I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, it's true. Here's how I'll answer that. I had a friend who, when I would call her hysterical, because I felt like I had to have limits to the time that I was writing. I'm going to write just from 10 until 5, and then you get literally 5 minutes of writing done. And then after that, I was like, pull me out, pull the thing, and then you have to call a friend and be like, oh my God. And so, and then she said to me, if you want to talk to my therapist, maybe you should get some help through this process. And she said, and I called the therapist, and the therapist said, I think if we start today, I can reparent you, remother you in about 3 years. And I was like, I'm getting 3 therapists. I'm doing it in 1 year. I can't have time. None of them knew I had other therapists. And I was just like, this one did the somatic stuff. This one did the cognitive. This one, I was like,
oh, you're serious?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, my God. That's why I love you. I would have the idea and write a pithy little piece about it. And you actually did that. Fuck. I don't know what to say, but now I'll take some names afterwards. No, I think that's one of the things that made me want to share this book, because I'm sure I'm not alone in this. That relationship is very complicated, and I related to it so much.
And we talked about it before, how one of the things that's also incredibly healing is creating a home for your own child.
Yes.
And parenting differently.
Yes.
and creating safety and making them soup when they're sick and all these things that that are so, to me, basic and easy
Yes.
and missing
Yeah.
and vital.
I think what this book will do when you read it, for, I would say, just for better and not for worse, is, it really made me think a lot about my own mother, and I always think that that's the sign of a really successful memoir, when you take that and then it brings you to yourself. And I wanted to ask you, and then we'll open up, about what if readers been, you said people have been contacting you with very long stories. You're sending them the names of your 3 therapists.
Yeah, I mean,
is there something in particular that they're relating to? I'm just curious, because it really touches on a lot of issues.
I think that for me, music, dance, film, all these things that saved me, that I had to be like, there's got to be a better way. And I was like, who's the expert in the thing? And I would just go and seek it out. And so many pieces of art really saved me. And so, and Brene Brown talks about how when you can really name something, the real language of it, sadness is different than anguish, for example. Righteous anger is different than being mad, or restorative justice, that sense of never again. Like, my favorite people in the world are the ones who are like, he did what to you? Not on my watch. We ride at dawn. and that was forged through growing up in this house, because I was like, this is entirely missing. And it's a loss for all of us.
Mm-hmm. So people are writing.
Oh yes, so they're writing, and I think they're
ride at dawn.
I think they're feeling we ride at dawn, and I think they're feeling that they have that it's giving them language for the thing. Because I mean, these letters are incredibly well written, very specific, and very lengthy.
Yes, yes.
So I probably will have to talk to an attorney about how I'm allowed to respond, because I do feel like this sounds sticky. So.
This is the journey of the memoirs. Very often you become the collector of stories that your story has inspired. Okay, I think we should take questions. Can I tell you one thing about my own mother?
Please,
Your book reminded me of?
Please talk about something else.
I had forgotten this. I'll just say one little thing, but your book made me remember this, that I also took care of my mother the end of her life, and we had a difficult relationship, and in the very end of her life, she was really out of it, but she was saying to and I'd forgotten this till I read your book. She was saying to the hospice nurses how great her daughter was, how amazing her daughter was, and I was there taking care of her, and I felt really good because I'm not the favorite daughter. And then she said something near the end that made me realize the entire time I was taking care of her, she thought I was my sister. My mother died thinking her favorite daughter had taken care of her, who wasn't me. And you never get a chance for that closure thing that you wish you had. And that is another thing that is so miraculous about this book, is you are able to give yourself the closure you didn't get from your family. That's a gift. You're going to see that in the book. It's so tremendous.
Now I have to tell one funny thing too then.
Okay. You tell one funny thing, then we take questions.
Okay, great. When Gail had this procedure, she had lung cancer, and they did this thing where they blow talcum powder into the outer part of the wall of the lung, so that the lung stays inflated. So
that sounds like fun.
And so she was under, and when she came out, Amit went in first, and he came out so moved. He was like, wow, she's in such a tender place. Like, she's like the softest and most loving. I can promise that's not going to happen to me. No, it'll go in, Moon. She just kept saying, I love you. And then Diva went in next, and she too, she came out. She was like, oh my God. And she's like, so vulnerable. Like, she's not yelling. She said, I love you. And little backstory, Gail was $5 million in debt at this point, having burned through $20 million and then was 5 more under. And so I go in, she comes out of her thing and she goes, you think I'm bad at business.
Oh, that was the tender love.
There it was.
Oh well. Okay.
Good times.
Okay. So good times with the moms. Let's open it up to questions.
P.S. I didn't. I thought she needed help.
Yeah.
I thought she needed a program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have any experiences watching your father compose, like being at the piano, putting dots on paper? And are there any memories you have of that?
Just like you described. Just exactly that.
Quietly
Just,
putting dots on paper.
That's exactly how the process is. Yep. He's deeply listening to himself. He's putting the dots on the page. I mean, the thing about my father, and I think about this all the time, is he was like a Mozart, like a Stravinsky, like a Bach. He's except he had the luxury of getting to hear it back. But think about the people that came before him, composers, where they play something and then they're playing it and they're hearing it and that's it. They're hearing it in real time with you, and but they cook it up in their minds, and they're hearing it and they're seeing it visually and they're mapping it, and then they like construct it. They don't know, but they do somehow. And he had a brain like that.
Yeah. A gifted ear.
Yeah.
This book sounds like a tremendous amount of personal work, obviously. Was it substantially re-traumatizing?
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, it was. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking.
But are you left, having done all this personal work, are you left better off than when you started?
That's what I ask myself.
Depends on sales.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
It's a lot of measures for that. Yes.
Well, I just have to say, I've known this woman when I was a teenager, and I looked up to her like the moon of light. Like, this was the most, I loved you then.
I love you.
And now to even like see that our stories even paralleled, and you know, my mom is not dead yet. And
Give it time.
Not yet. What time is it?
I just feel like I confessed in front of her.
You get a jacket when it happens.
So I'm struggling a little bit with that. And I look forward. I only got to chapter 3 because I'm raising a child, and I feel the same like path as you. His warrior mommy, and he's crossing over into 13 manhood, and so I just love you. I wish I totally just reading and knowing, just my brief. I dated her brother briefly. He was such a gentleman. Honestly, I was just. New at dating, and I thought you guys were so cool because he called his mom Gail, and I was like, your parents are so cool. I have to say mom and dad, and then now to hear, I just appreciate you've always been a very truthful, you're a warrior princess, and I went to see you perform with Rain, and you also have your dad's genius and the comedy and the truth saying, and it's just your gift, and this is just the beginning, and I'm really so proud of you.
Thank you. One thing I will say about what you shared is when you're parenting, and for me anyway, when what I didn't get growing up, and maybe if I had amazing parents, I imagine I'd still have places that didn't get all the way cooked. But what's wild is when I'm going through the same thing that my kid is going through, and I don't have the skill set because it wasn't given to me. And so then you're like, oh my God, we're learning this together. And I pray you get it faster. It is so amazing. I feel like that's another thing that I just find, I'm like, why aren't all humans just like talking about this? This is an unbelievable thing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
we stand on our hind legs, and then we still need to learn stuff.
I parented it. I was like, I didn't have a mother. And I'm now putting all these videos together of him all through up until now. And until now, because he's a teenager, I have a right to have a feeling. No, but I broke the chain. and I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
And you do
Okay.
too.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you
Sorry.
should.
Sorry. Who else dated one of Moon's brothers? Questions? Let's take those questions.
Oh, there's a question.
Oh, okay. Was it Dweezil or both?
I'm sorry. No, I don't know her. I don't know.
Oh, well.
But so the rage you referenced.
Yeah.
So I went through something similar, but with a father, and I named it. I named everything, but we had to bring somebody in to stop it. So when your mother raged, did you all just go to your rooms, or did you just leave the house, or how did you deal with that rage? Because it's kind of it's never ending when you're living.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's you do different things. I mean, I had a lot of different coping skills. One of them was self-mutilation. That was not a fun time. But yeah, I mean, I felt picked on, so I picked on myself. I mean,
was it all of you or just you?
I mean, I feel like I got the brunt of it, but to me, that's the thing. That's why I thought my siblings and I were so close, because I felt like when she passed, that we were just going to literally cross some kind of a victory line, like, we did it, we made it, and we got out nice. You know what I mean? And so, right. And I really did think we were going to be like Gallipoli, just like, some thing didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Sorry, I suffered any of that.
Yeah, sorry for you.
Question? Yeah, right there, second row. Yes. Hi.
You mentioned that you realized at some point when you were writing that you were all having different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Did you then go back to the previous chapters? Like, were you right in that mindset?
I mean, I think I was just, as I was going, I was making those adjustments. But again, I turned in 148,000 words to my editor, and it was like that scene in Close Encounters when Richard Dreyfuss is like, "There it is, your turn." So, and then little by little, you say, what do I want to say? What's the heart of this? And like, I go back to that quote, and then I would think about what's my goal. I try to be a problem solver and stay in solutions, and what's my contribution, and how can I make this a better experience, if not for them, for somebody else, and for myself.
Yes.
You had a statement in the question, and my question is, so you had like an idea of your relationship with your siblings, and then you did this whole process, and then you saw them like, oh, they have a different experience, and so did that have an impact on your like real-time relationship with them?
Well, we were not speaking at that time. We were estranged.
And then did you're seeing it through their eyes, like?
I mean, in some ways, I'm always the big sister going, there's got to be a way. I know, I'll write a memoir. Then they'll see what happened to me, and then they'll understand, and then we'll love each other again. It's working with Amit. So far, so good.
So a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I just want to say I have a statement. Is I also have a positive journals, and I was at my mom's house, and I was reading one, and I thought, like, if I rip this up, I won't remember it, like, because I don't remember a lot of stuff, and then like it didn't happen. This is a statement. I don't know. Like, putting your, I don't know. Like,
well, I can relate in the fact that I was like, did this happen? And then I go to my journal and be like, oh my God, it happened, and it happened worse, or it happened differently, or it happened. Oh, I see what I did there. Of course, it's that process of excavation. And I think that's a human thing to endeavor to do. I highly recommend it with a therapist's help. Don't take my advice. Never mind, scratch that. Don't do anything I say. Do nothing. Find your own way.
Maybe read the journals before you set them on fire. Maybe. Oh, back in the back.
Good evening. I'd like to know if you and or your siblings will be doing another television series anytime soon, because Too Hip for TV and Normal Life are absolute treasures. I'm glad they saw fit to put them on YouTube. And I was wondering, Because I remember Dweezil appeared on Celebrity Wife Swap some time ago.
Yeah.
He was a joy. And so I wondered, let's say you were invited to be on World's Strictest Parents, assuming you're familiar with that show. And what would you tell the producers?
I'd say yes, because you're asking for it. And I love that you have a great sense of what should be on television. I appreciate this.
Okay, that can you say the other day I texted Moon because I found some footage from Too Hip for TV, which was my first job when I got to Los Angeles from New York, that I did with Amit. And you can see that on YouTube. It was a terrible variety show we shot in a bowling alley, and to this day, I can't go to a bowling alley without. We shot it in a bowling alley, and I still have PTSD from that. But that's how originally our families got connected.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Did you find the love
Did I find the love?
beyond the anger and the feelings?
Uh-huh.
Did you get to that part?
No. No, I'm joking. What do you want me to say? I'm a lady butler. What's going to help you most?
There's
Do you
a
want me to
lot
be
of
unfinished?
love. There's a
I'm
lot
finished.
of love.
I'm
in this
unfinished.
book.
I'm unfinished. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of love in this book, and that's, I think, the triumph
Yeah.
of it. I mean, besides the love for self and for your family, your child, and your siblings, I think that there's just so much love in the book. That's the triumph of it,
Thank you.
and dancing in the end.
Exactly.
The end is you're just gonna I just tell me this and write to Moon later on Instagram or something, and just I had to reenact the last bit of the book. When I finished the book, I don't want to say, but I put on songs that she says, because I was like, oh my God, I need to listen to this. And I just started dancing around my house. And I really felt this propulsive sense of recovery and rejuvenation. And I can't believe you made me like Led Zeppelin. Never in my life have I said that. So you'll see so much love. Questions? Yes. Yes. Sorry.
First of all, older sisters, totally get that. Second of all, when people tell you that they relate to you or that you inspire them, how does that make you feel?
So uncomfortable. I'm just like, no, please figure it out yourself, and don't listen to me. Yeah, makes me feel uncomfortable. Thanks for asking.
There's a question back.
I just have vague memories of the 80s and seeing you and your dad maybe on TV or just together, and you seemed like you were really close. I don't know why I have that. Do you have any kind of feeling of that?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was his favorite, and I hoped everybody felt like that. And that was, and when you're put in Linda Goodman's Book of Sun Signs as a compatible Sagittarius Libra combo, it's immortalized how compatible we were. Yes.
Okay.
I know Moon to be one of the kindest, loving, compassionate women I know, and also an incredible mother. And what I want to know is, I grew up, I had the ragey dad, but my mother was a rock, as was my grandmother. And I feel like I know these things, being that loving and compassionate often comes from mother figures. Was there a grandma? Was there an aunt? Was it the birth of Jet that where did it come from? Because do you think it's innate, or do you think it's nature, nurture? What do you feel?
I mean, I think when I was no, to answer your question, no. But there was, I was always seeking that, and I, as I again went through the process of writing the book, I learned about personas and Jungian, the whole Jungian analysis. That world of I had realized I had created these kind of like adaptive personas to get through it. So I became the mother. And when I would hear music like Sinead O'Connor, when I saw her album Universal Mother, I was like, that's me. I'm one of those. Or I heard Fiona Apple's music, and you can just feel a sense of these are my peers. This is a bat signal, and I hear you loud and clear. I'm one too. Let's high five. And
mothering your siblings because Gail wasn't.
I think I'll leave my answer where it is.
Naomi. Oh, I'm up, or right there. Sorry, in the back. Sorry.
I actually was very curious about feedback during your process and like who were the trusted people, or like how much was feedback or bringing people into your process a part of it?
Some of the people that were invaluable. Allegra Houston, she was one of the readers that I trusted with my work. She's an incredible writer, incredible person. She was somebody that really made a huge difference in this work. I hired 2 independent editors. One kind of gave a what's it called? Like a overview, like a editorial. What's that called? That thing. And so she went through every single chapter, and she kind of said, "This is what I see, and this is what I think you're." She was just mirroring what I couldn't access because I was just too close to it. Mm-hmm. And then this other editor, she took out all the places where there was blame or self flagellation or something like this, and she gave it the haircut that it really needed, so I could. And what was wild was that draft that when she cleaned it up. And she took out all of the blame and all of that stuff. That's when I really started to heal. I was like, oh, she's actually building the path of what health could look like. I didn't. This is what I would have written had I grown up with a loving somebody.
That's funny. That just whenever I teach a writing workshop, I talk about various edits: a comedy edit, an edit for meaning, an edit for just clear understanding. I don't think I've ever suggested what was that you said she did? A blame edit.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. That's a self-flagellation edit. Mm-hmm. Those are maybe more of that in someone's work. Who knows? But no, that's a really good idea, and I think that's an interesting.
Yeah, because I was always on the lookout for who. Like, what would health look like? What would it be like? And somebody, I think it was Ariel yesterday. She was talking about how healthy people, when there's a mean person around, they leave, they run away. And this is a totally foreign idea to me. I'm still wired like, let's all get along. We can work through our differences. And again, when Van Halen broke up, I was like, how's anybody going to do anything now? They can't figure it out.
Well. Fleetwood Mac, but of course, a lot of part of the book takes place when you're a child, and a child is in a much different position. Mm-hmm. There was someone else back there. Yes.
I know that you're an amazing mom. You've clearly, as you said, done a lot of work on yourself.
But not what we mean when we say usually.
Yeah, she was doing the face. She was doing the face.
I just want to clarify, it's not that kind of work. It's just, if you saw the gesture, it sort of made it sound like.
Have you ever been challenged by letting Frank and Gail inadvertently come out in your life, because we are a product of our parents, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yes, I let the genius come out that I inherited from my father, and my mother's sense of design and her sense of color. Yes, I would say yes. Thank you. Now that I'm able to choose which parts I'd like to express, I'm editing a lot.
I feel like we should all just take that answer and adapt it to our own lives. Yes, I am taking my mother's sense of color and design and my father's genius for embezzlement. Yeah, I'm taking that one. just take that. Thanks. Are there more questions? Are we ready to sign? You want? Oh, Michael,
Yeah,
we will
just to
sign some
clarify,
books.
Van Halen struck you as a functional relationship.
I see where you're going with this.
That is a longer discussion. Okay. Moon, I will sign some books, but mostly we're all here to sign to get books from Moon, and we'll be here all night or
All right.
not.
Yeah.
Or how will you do that? I forget.
Thank you guys so much for coming. For signing, because there's such a lovely big group of people, we'll probably have the two of you come sit over here on this blue couch. And if possible, if we could just like wrap the line against the bookshelves. And then for buying books, we'll have some books up here for you to come buy. So yeah, and everyone will get to sign, so just be like cool and chill about it.
Just like Van Halen.
Thank you.